What is up, guys? This is Taco from Top Shelf with Taco, and we are here to talk about the trade deadline. A lot has happened, and we're going to talk about the trade deadline from where I think the trade deadline really started, and that really started April the 2nd with the Chicago Blackhawks. So I think it started right here with Chicago acquiring Vinny Hinestroza from the Florida Panthers in exchange for Brad Morrison. That was great for Florida, or great for Chicago. Chicago picking up another forward that they could really use because their top two lines are great, but they need depth work. So to put Hinestroza in that line, in that depth area, is much needed. I think they'll be competitors this season, but will they make it all the way? Probably not. It's hard to say. And then we had on April 7th, we had the New York Islanders acquire Kyle Palmieri and Travis Sajak from the Devils in exchange for Andrew Greer, Mason Jaboris, a first round in 2021 and a fourth round in 2022. Great move on both ends. The 2021 and the 2022 picks will help the Devils. And the Islanders have two solid players now, on top of what they had already with Anders Lee and Matthew Barzal, just to name a few. And then on April 8th, the Chicago Blackhawks would acquire Brett Connolly, Hendrik Bjorkstrom, defenseman Riley Stillman, and a 2021 seventh round in exchange for Luka Carlson and Lucas Wallmark. Once again, more depth, or more depth. Because this is what, like I said, Chicago has a great first line. Chicago has a great second line. Third line was questionable. Fourth line questionable. The defensive ends questionable. But with the trades they made with Florida, that really helped the team. And then the Toronto Maple Leafs would pick up Riley Nash from the Columbus Blue Jackets in exchange for a 2022 conditional seventh round. The condition for the seventh round is if Nash played 25% of the Leafs' playoff games, it would become a sixth round. So, I mean, it could help, but it could also differ. And then the Colorado Avalanche would pick up Patrick Nemeth from the Detroit Red Wings in exchange for a fourth round in 2022. Something Detroit could use. Draft picks, rebuild their franchise. That's what they need. And then, oh, and then Colorado wasn't done. Colorado also acquires Devin Dubnyk from San Jose in exchange for Gary Patton and a fifth round in 2021. Personally, I like this trade, but I also don't. Because I liked Dubnyk on the Sharks. Dubnyk on the Sharks never played well against Vegas, and that's why I liked it. But Dubnyk with the Avs could be a different story. We just have to wait and find out. And then the Florida Panthers would acquire Brandon Montour from Buffalo in exchange for a third round in 2021. Buffalo getting rid of some prime players for draft picks is good because they're trying to rebuild. They know what they're trying to do. They need to rebuild. They need to get everything done. But will it come soon enough? I don't think so. Tampa would acquire David Savard from the Columbus Blue Jackets as a part of a three-way team trade with the Detroit Red Wings in exchange for the Lightning's first round in 2021 and a third round in 2022. I mean, I liked this, but on top of that, Detroit got a fourth round out of it. Once again, trying to rebuild a team. Detroit's trying to rebuild what they have, so picking up a fourth round was great. And then on top of that, having Columbus get the first round and the third round was even better. On April, and then on April 11th, so that's a day before the trade deadline. New Jersey Devils would acquire defenseman Jonas, I don't even know how to say his name, would pick up a defenseman from the Washington Capitals for a conditional third round. I do not know the conditions behind this third round, but does Washington really need a third round? I mean, yes, they could be losing TJ Oshie at the end of the year, but I just don't think they need that. And then the Montreal Canadiens would acquire defenseman John Merrill from the Detroit Red Wings in exchange for a fifth round in 2021 and a forward. Once again, big for Detroit because they got another draft pick, rebuilding. But Montreal picking up John Merrill could be huge. John Merrill, yes, used to play for Vegas, so I'm very biased about how he played. But he was a solid defenseman. He knew what he was doing. He's not a Braden McNabb who just stands there and does nothing. He could actually do something with Vegas, and I think he'll do something with Montreal. And then, this is when it got good. Toronto would acquire Nick Foligno from Columbus and Stefan Nosek from San Jose in exchange for a first round in 2021, a fourth round in 2022, and Columbus would give a fourth round to San Jose. The Leafs behind Vegas and Chicago. The Leafs are one of my favorite teams. I started watching the NHL with the Leafs back in 2015, so to see the Leafs not only pick up Nick Foligno is huge. That is another key competitor on the front end. That's going to help us with Mitch, with Matthews, with Tavares, and now Foligno. And four amazing competitors. But on top of that, the Leafs would also go and acquire goaltender David Rittich from the Calgary Flames in exchange for a third round pick. With the uncertainty of Freddie Anderson, that helps because Jack Campbell's out there doing fantastically. He just set a new record for the Leafs with 10 back-to-back, with 10 wins or something like that. I don't remember. But it's a record. It's 10 wins, yeah. But to have Rittich on the back as a backup for Campbell at the moment is going to be huge. That's going to be a team that may not be able to be stopped, especially in that Canadian division where they're already good the way it is. And then the Bruins went and picked up Mike Riley from the Senators for a third round pick in 2022. Ottawa getting a third round, kind of rebuilding, kind of not really. But Boston just like acquiring whoever they can. But Boston acquiring whoever they can is always fun to watch because they have these lines that the top two lines that really don't get touched. That those front two lines, you usually got Marchand and Pasternak on the first line, and then Bergeron on the second line. Or it's usually Marchand and Bergeron on the first line, Pasternak on the second line. But Mike Riley, as a defenseman, I am not certain on where he's going to fall. He might fall with where Karachi is or somebody else, but where Torrey Krug used to be, you never know. The New York Islanders would acquire defenseman Braden Coburn from the Senators in exchange for a seventh round. Once again, Senators trying to rebuild. The Islanders just doing what they can. Pittsburgh Penguins would acquire Jeff Carter from LA for conditional picks in 22 and 23. I mean, LA's trying to kind of rebuild, I want to say. They're not the greatest team out there. Neither are the Penguins, but that's where the Penguins acquired Jeff Carter. Probably would put somebody within the place of Malkin and Gensel, maybe. Help that end out. So it's hard to say. But this was the bombshell trade of the week. Boston Bruins would acquire Taylor Hall and Curtis Lazar from the Buffalo Sabres in exchange for Anders Bjork and a second round pick in 2021. I liked it, but I didn't because I think a second round for Taylor Hall is not really worthy, and Anders Bjork is not that good. Him and Taylor Hall are both sitting at 4 goals this season, and we're just about a month until playoffs. So I mean, but I could see Taylor Hall once again being put into that those top four with either going onto the first line to do God knows what with Marchand, or you'll see him drop to you'll see Taylor Hall go to the second line and be with Pasternak, which would be an amazing group. And Curtis Lazar, he's more depth again, so I mean, it is what it is. Chicago would acquire Adam Gaudette from the Vancouver Canucks for Matthew Highmore. From personal experience, I've seen Matthew Highmore play. He's a fantastic player. He's great on the ice, really knows what he's doing, but is he Adam Gaudette material? No. I think Gaudette's a bit better, but I think they're both shine in their respected areas. I do think Chicago won the trade. The Oilers would have picked up Dmitry Kulikov. The Oilers would pick up Dmitry Kulikov from the Devils in exchange for a conditional fourth round in 22. The Devils picking up Kulikov, or the Oilers picking up Kulikov for defense was needed. Oilers did not look like they have great defense this year, so to have that is grand. And the Devils trying to rebuild again for that fourth round is perfect. And then the Tampa Bay Lightning would acquire Frederick Clausen from San Jose in exchange for the rights of goaltender Marcus Krona or Magnus Krona. Know nothing about either of those guys. There must be two prospects. Colorado Avalanche would acquire Carl Soderberg from the Chicago Blackhawks in exchange for Josh Dickinson and the rights to Ryder Ralston. Two more prospects I know nothing about. Carl Soderberg's a great player. Sad to see him go. It is what it is. The Vegas Golden Knights would acquire Matthias Janmark and defenseman Nick DeSimone in a fifth round in 2022 from the Chicago Blackhawks and the San Jose Sharks in exchange for a second round in 2021, a third round in 2022 to Chicago, and then San Jose would pick up a fifth round in 2022, which is big because Vegas acquiring another forward. He's probably going to be a depth forward once again because I don't think they'll mess up our first or second line. But Janmark, he was a great player for Chicago once again. I, he's been on a little bit of a drought last 10 games. He's had like 2 goals, but he's definitely able to set up players for good chances. So I'm excited to see what he does with Vegas. I believe he'll be playing Wednesday with Vegas. So that's going to be a fun one to watch. And then the first and the second round, or my bad, the second and the third round of Chicago, that's going to help Chicago big time because God knows who they're going to pick up. And San Jose piggybacking and getting a fifth round is just, it is what it is. And then the Anaheim Ducks would acquire Hayden Fleury from the Carolina Hurricanes in exchange for defenseman Yanni Yakupov in a sixth round in 2022. That was big because I don't think Yanni Yakupov is Hayden Fleury caliber. I, I do think they paid. I think this was an underpay for the. This was a steal for the Ducks, pretty much. Because the sixth round in Yakupov, I don't feel like is Hayden Fleury equally. And then the Washington Capitals would acquire Anthony Mantha from the Detroit Red Wings in exchange for Jacob Vranta, Richard Panik, 2021 first round, and a 2022 second round. I think that was an overpay. I don't think Mantha's worth the first round and the second round, let alone Vanta and Panik. But with this group in Washington, will Mantha really be able to show what he's got? Because with Detroit, I don't think he was able to show what he's got. So in the end, I think he'll be able to go ahead and show what he's capable of with the Capitals. But on the other hand, I feel bad for both Verante and Panik. But then again, like I said, Detroit's trying to rebuild almost, so a first round and a second round is big for them. The Vancouver Canucks would acquire Mason Bowie in a fifth round from the Chicago Blackhawks in exchange for a fourth round in 2021. I mean, Bowie played a little. Yeah, I'm just gonna say Bowie played a little, like 3 games with Chicago, nothing big, but I feel bad for him because he was here for such a short time, along with me. But a fourth round is pretty good. I'm not going to argue it. Also, Florida Panthers would acquire Sam Benton in a 2022 sixth round from Calgary in exchange for forward Emily Heineman in a 2021 or a 2022 second round. I mean, we didn't see this trade coming, but the Panthers definitely are trying to set up a cup caliber team this year. So the Montreal Canadiens would acquire defenseman Eric Gustafsson from the Philadelphia Flyers in exchange for a 2022 seventh round. I think Montreal stole this trade because Gustafsson is a very good defenseman, and for a 2022 seventh, that was fantastic. And then the Nashville Predators would acquire defenseman Eric Branson from the Senators in exchange for defenseman Brandon Fortano and a seventh round in 2023. Branson's a great defenseman. Don't know anything about Brandon, and the 2023 seventh round, it just seems weird because it's 2023. It's years away. The Washington Capitals would acquire Mikhail Rafiki from the Flyers in exchange for a 2021 fifth round. Don't know so much about this forward. Can't say much. San Jose would acquire forward Alexander Barbashev from the Toronto Maple Leafs in exchange for forward Antti Suomela. Don't know so much about Suomela, and Barbashev was solid with Toronto. Toronto would acquire defenseman Ben Hutton from the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for a 2022 fifth round. Toronto stole this trade. Hutton's an amazing defenseman. Stole the trade. Don't care what anybody says. And then the last trade that broke out. The Winnipeg Jets would acquire Jordie Benn in exchange for his 2021 sixth round. Jordie Benn being traded from Vancouver to Winnipeg was big because Vancouver needs help everywhere. 2021 sixth round might get them help, hard to say. But Winnipeg having a defenseman like Jordie Benn's going to really step up their game. Yes, they're on and off every now and again, but I feel like with Jordie Benn, they might have a really reliable defensive end now, but it's really hard to say. And that was your trade deadline. A lot happened. And from my standpoint, my God, my head hurt after the trade deadline. But I want to know your guys' thoughts. Please let us know down in the comments below. Tag the bottom line. Tag me. Do whatever you got to do. But guys, that was the 2021 trade deadline. So I thank you guys so much for watching. Jimmy and Neil, I hope you guys have a great show. And I'm looking forward to the next piece. Peace, guys.